Hello, everyone. This is Brian Troutfield. I'm the co-founder and COO of Ambition. And today I have Nimit Bhatt, the head of business development and strategy for memoryBlue. Hey, Nimit.
Hey, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing as well as possible out here today.
I think we all are.
How about yourself?
Yeah. Oh, good. Hanging in there. Enjoying day 25 of quarantine. I always lose track. I don't know whether it's Thursday or Tuesday or Saturday right now.
Days don't matter. Time doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It could be, I'll take your word on 25. It feels like 75. But
Right.
yeah, so we're doing a series that I think is pretty impactful. And I'm glad that you said you were willing to be a part of it, because I think you have some great insights of what sales managers, sales leaders, team leads can be doing right now to coach, motivate, keep their sellers engaged and hopefully successful. So thrilled for you to be on, and I'll just launch right into it. What are you seeing folks doing to as they make a really rapid adjustment to sales and sales management?
Yeah, I mean, I think even before we get to management, I mean, if I'm an SDR right now, I am working as hard as possible because I know that the light is being shined on me. And if I'm aspiring to be in SDR management, and I'm an SDR right now, this is such a huge time, right? This is where you got a lot of eyes on you, that if you can, if you can make it through this and you can show you can be a leader, that you can kind of be ahead of the pack, and you're doing everything you can, then when it comes time for that promotion, when things get back to normal, in a few weeks or a few months, your name will be a consideration for that. So I think that's really big, and we're seeing a lot of our SDRs here step up to the plate for sure. But I think from a management standpoint, we have been putting a huge focus on coaching, and advice that I've been giving right now, that if you run a sales organization and you don't have any type of call coaching solution in place, that should be like your number one investment, whether you have a team of 5 or a team of 50. I mean, there are plenty of tools out there for all budgets, and the type of insights you can get and the real-time feedback that you can give, and how you can capture all these crazy new objections that we're hearing, right? I mean, it used to be, hey, budget, it's a bad time, budget's not good. But now we're hearing things like, hey, actually, I'm in quarantine waiting on my test results from COVID. Call me in a couple weeks.
It's a totally different scenario. That's a great point. I want to talk about both of those different pieces.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you just said there that, is kind of a new perspective that I haven't heard yet in this series, is about how SDR specifically and memoryBlue, you guys are really experts in that space or that role, but like how they can be stepping up. And I've seen this in weird ways, and tell me if you've seen the same thing, of like, in some cases, a little bit of like vitriol on LinkedIn, but also a lot of like folks sharing great experiences they're having with an SDR. I mean, I think that's really like about what you're saying, is like people who are capturing a more creative or authentic or just like very real approach when they're reaching out. It seems like that's being appreciated more right now. Do you see that?
Absolutely. Empathy is like the word of the month. And I think that's, when it comes, when we look back on this in a couple of years, I think, that's still going to ring true. I recently did an interview with Scott Barker, who's the head of partnerships over at Sales Hacker, and he kind of hit the nail on the head. He said, if someone's trying to outbound prospect me right now, and even if they have the perfect solution for me and the problem is there, it solves all my problems, all my pains, if they are completely tone deaf to everything that's happening right now, they're not going to get my business. And I think that rings true to a lot of buyers. You have to show that empathy, and you have to say things like, that makes sense. I totally understand. I hear you. I've been hearing that a lot. I'm sure this is a really stressful time for you. Things like that. I mean, it'll do wonders for you right now.
And I think that's a great point, because, managers can do this tomorrow, and it's just play the role of someone who just had to let some of their team go, or is facing a budget cut or freeze. Like, play that role so that your reps have some practice, because they may not have heard that 2 months ago, and it may have been easy to get that meeting, and those things have changed really quickly. I think that's a great point. What are you guys seeing as far as like a cadence for coaching meetings, stand-ups? I've seen a lot of folks who are doing a different multiple team meetings per week, multiple individual meetings per week? What are your guys or teams doing right now?
Yeah, with everybody being distributed right now, there's a more frequent cadence going on with our meetings. So the way that we've always operated is we have 2 call blitzes each day where all of our SDRs are on the phones getting after it. And
still doing it now?
Still doing it now. It's different because when everyone's in the office, it's almost like you're walking onto the floor of the stock exchange. Everyone's going crazy, high-fiving and throwing their headset after a bad call, things like that, right? But right now what we're doing is we're just ramping up our meetings. So our SDR managers, we call them delivery managers, they're having kind of more frequent huddles. So they'll do one right before the morning blitz that starts at 8:30. And then they'll do one right afterwards and capture, all right, what are some of the wins, what are the successes that happened, and then doing that again before the PM blitz, which is either 2:30 or 3:30 based on which time zone you're in, and then one at the end of the day. So just ramping that up, and at the same time not making it all about numbers, right? The numbers are important, but injecting some things in there like, all right, what did you learn? Tell me one objection you ran into. If somebody booked a meeting, find out what happened on that, or if they overcame the COVID-19 objection. What do they say? How do they make that happen? And trying to share those insights and trying to make it fun. Saying, just before we break for the day, what's one restaurant you're looking forward to getting back to when everything goes back to normal? Just kind of keeping it light and trying to share some good news, like John Krasinski's been doing on that news program. All right, cool. So things like that. Just kind of try to keep it as human as possible.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are doing this. It's something that we've been doing now, and we learned it from one of our clients. But they shifted a lot of their metrics where they had like individual goals for sales development and inside salespeople, and they shifted all those things from individual daily and weekly in terms of like calls or meeting set or pipeline, whatever. And for I think it's like 2 months, they're doing all of them at team level, and so everything is like this team is going to go deliver this many calls and this many meetings. And I think that's an interesting thing that folks can do. And you don't have to just like totally, erase the previous board and set something else up. But like, It just focuses everyone on the group to what you're describing, like before a blitz, once a day, whatever the case may be, is like, here's what blew up in my face, or here's what just worked for me really well. And here's like how I got past that initial, objection or whatever the case may be. And I think aligning the team a little bit more on those metrics or on those specific goals is exactly what you're talking about with those like pre-blitz calls. I think everyone can do that. Whether you have to get rid of the individual stuff or not, doesn't matter. It's still going to have the same effect if you get everyone really focused.
Exactly.
Well, last couple of things. Let's wrap up. But anything else that you think your SDR manager or delivery managers, folks out there in the world can take from what you guys are doing and maybe adopt in the next several weeks?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the call coaching. We're doing a lot more of that. We used to do it just once a week, but now we're ramping it up. One thing that we've been doing is a daily huddle with anybody who's new to the company. So anybody that's basically within their first 6 weeks, like a special kind of huddle for them, just to kind of make sure that they're good. Because, if I was a brand new SDR, this is my first ever sales job, and a month or two into the gig, my manager's like, hey, so you're going to start working from home in complete isolation, and you got to make, sales calls for this very complex technology. Yeah. Everything I learned from the people around me and that constant feedback and the knowledge sharing. So, keep that line of communication open, especially with their new people. I think everyone ultimately is trying to step up a little bit more. And if there are certain top performers that volunteer to be kind of in a mentorship role and help out a little bit, definitely take all that in. And, I think there's a reasonable level of tension right now, right? People are, it's a tough market, and they're trying to find ways to get better, but, we're seeing some of that. So we're finding ourselves not having to incentivize nearly as much because people are kind of doing it themselves. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with, doing incentives. It used to be an Amazon gift card or a half-day PTO, and now it's a DoorDash gift card, right? And people are like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's something real to like supporting all of these restaurants and folks who are struggling. So I'm all in on that. That's great, Nimit. I think that those are trying to figure out. We've had really I hope and I think that I can speak for ourselves in that we're trying to have as much like real conversations with our team of the numbers just may not be there this month or this quarter. And so we've all got to be in this together, and, you know, our leadership supporting you. We believe in you. We're going to try to develop you during this time. And even what you said, I think just in the pre-call is like the one thing that I do believe is like, we're not going to say, you know, slow down, or we're not going to say like, you know, take off, because in both cases, I think that our solutions are valuable to people regardless of what's happening with COVID and what's happening elsewhere. I think that, you know, it's really important to have that confidence for your reps to say like, no, really reach out to people, like be empathetic, be authentic, understand the situation, but, you know, don't just say, hey, it's a terrible news day today, I don't want to call someone. Like, actually, I think that the data that we've seen, talk time is up. And so when people are connecting, they're much more open to having a real conversation right now.
Yeah. And tone is so important, and empathy is so important. You can't do that over an email. You can't do that over a LinkedIn message. You have to do that in a live conversation. And SDRs have to kind of focus more on the nurturing. I think SDRs are typically used to the one call close, right? I got to get next steps. I got to get meetings set up with my AE. And it's the AE's job to nurture them, but now SDRs have to kind of take that role, right? That they have to nurture these prospects. And even if there is a fit, you know, that if budgets are frozen or everything's really crazy, I mean, they're not going to take a meeting, even if it's the perfect solution for them. You have to nurture them. You have to kind of follow back up in a week. And where, I mean, next week might as well be next decade at this point, right? I mean, with how quickly everything's moving and changing.
Like
so just keep nurturing these prospects. Don't focus on the next 30 days, focus on the next 6 months, right? And if you nurture them, then you'll be top of mind, and, you know, you could potentially you'll be in a better position to win the business. If you don't push too hard and you just learn and you just hear what they have to say, and you're empathetic, and you just keep nurturing them and offer up content, offer up ways of support, whether it's collateral or a webinar or some piece of information, free assessment, whatever it is. Be supportive.
I think,
give more than you can take.
Exactly right. Yeah, keep making those deposits. That's exactly right. I agree with you 100%.
The Josh Braun,
Yes, that's right. Let's wrap on that. Where can people find you? I know you have a podcast. I know you're doing more content and putting more leadership out there. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to LinkedIn and type in NIMIT, there's not a whole lot of me out there. So you'll definitely see me pop up. So add me on LinkedIn. Every Monday I release the Sales Minute with Nimit, which is a quick kind of video series similar to this. And then in the next couple of weeks, we'll be launching a podcast around that topic. At memoryBlue, we also do a weekly podcast on Thursdays called Tech Sales is for Hustlers, and where our two co-founders will interview memoryBlue alum. So people that used to work at memoryBlue who are now out in the sales world doing awesome things, hearing their stories. And you can check us out at www.memoryblue.com.
Some of the best reps out there. That's absolutely true. Well, cool. Nimit, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I think what you said there especially the end, is the perfect thing for managers to take away right now. And find you on Mondays, right?
Yeah, there you go. Find me on Mondays. Make it happen Mondays.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian.